Canon has played Chrono Odyssey. Chrono from Society of Gaming has played Chrono Odyssey. And Hi have played Chrono Odyssey. There's two things we're going to talk about in this video. We're going to talk about the fact that it is actually a real game, and we're going to look at a little bit of some gameplay footage, which they have revealed on Twitter. Now, like Chrono, like Canon, whilst I can say that I've played it, I can't say anything about the game, right? So you can ask me the questions, but I ain't going to answer you because I value that NDA way more than replying to somebody on YouTube, and I do apologize for that, but that's the way it's got to be. However, I'm hoping that that gives at least a little bit of credence to the idea that this is a real game, because I know for some people they're dubious of just that simple fact. But this video is not just talking about that. I want to talk about this post that they've done on Twitter right here. I'll read it first. It says, "Behind the desk entry 1. Just another normal day at the office. Someone testing Chrono Odyssey fighting a spider, but not just any spider. A tiny tease, just a peek for now." It might be just a peek for them, but for us, it's our first real look at the game actually running as gameplay. Yes, we've seen gameplay trailers, but it's always been a little bit awkward to work out what's actually real, what's effectively like cinematic puff pieces, if you will. But this is somebody sat at a desk playing with their controller mind and playing Chrono Odyssey. Or Chrono Odyssey if you're Canon. And what I'm going to do is overly hyper analyze this small 19-second bit of gameplay, because that's what we're going to be doing on this channel, whether you like it or not. I mean, if you don't like it, you don't watch. But let's just watch the whole thing first and foremost without any like commentary, but I will talk about it. He's fighting the giant spider, as you can see. Immediately you'll see like a giant health bar, which is probably the boss's health bar, and you see the player's health bar, what is effectively the bottom left of the screen, and then the abilities are assumedly in the bottom. It also looks like the quests on the right hand side. What appears to be a crescent moon, no idea what that would be. And then there's some, like, if you spend a little bit longer, there's some extra details that we can see in this footage. One of them is that it looks like there's a compass at the top, very similar to New World in the sense that if you've played New World, I mean, any game that has a compass, it's not like crazily similar, but you know, there's a compass at the top, and that's what this line here definitely looks like. And you can see how the boss moves around, like the target moves around, which is probably, you know, on his map, or on his compass, I should say. Speaking about something I think we can kind of infer here is, yes, he's playing on a controller. If you don't know, the game is actually coming to console and PC. I would assume you can whack in a controller onto a PC, considering, you know, there's a mouse right there. But I've got to say, it does look like there's also going to be a lock-on. Like, if you look at the way he moves right here, he like moves to the side, and there's a cursor or little icon that is staying on the boss as this player moves. So I'm inferring from that the game could have some kind of lock-on, because you can kind of, you know, you can pretty much see it right there. There appears to be 2 health bars. That could be for an ultimate, it could be like an enemy stamina bar, I'm not 100% sure. We do also see the player dodge, and when he dodges in a moment, he's going to dodge back right now. And when he does that, this bar goes down. So we can assume that there is a classic stamina bar as well. By the way, I've heard some of these drinks are very tasty, but I don't really know what they are. Then what I did was I was like, okay, well, we'll whack this into ChatGPT to see what it tells me is actually in that footage. And I did this on stream, right? I was like, oh, let's just do it on stream and see what it'll say. Actually gives me something that I didn't like pick up on. Yes, it talks about how he's playing on a controller. It even talks about the chair that they're using. Talks a little bit about the on-screen content. They mentioned, interestingly here, Diablo 4 like vibe. And I would say here that whenever you do look at the gameplay trailer of Chrono Odyssey and stuff like that, that kind of like gothic aesthetic, I would say it's maybe aimed at being more Dark Souls than Diablo, but it does have that kind of vibe for sure. Actually does talk about these energy drinks and this lemon drink. I don't know how accurate that is, by the way. I don't know if ChatGPT can get the right drink, nor do I really care about the leafy environments or anything like that. But I asked it to tell me more about what was on screen. And then it says, obviously, the large health bar suggests a boss fight. To be fair, they said it's not just any spider, it's a special spider. Apparently the boss's name is this, which is Savant Mutant of the Evil Horde. I'm not going to claim that this is accurate. There could be, I mean, when I put the image into Photoshop, it was very blurry. So maybe that's true, maybe it's not. Then there's some text on the right hand side where it says the Savage Mutant is watching you. This enemy is very powerful, so be prepared. I mean, I would have thought that the image, the text on the right hand side of the screen would actually be the quest, but here it's sort of suggesting it's like fluff content, fluff like lore or information about the game. Obviously we don't know exactly what that's going to be. It does say it's very reminiscent here of Diablo 4 and games like Lost Ark and Lineage and stuff like that in terms of its fonts and its styling. And then I asked the AI how many abilities are on the screen, and it said there were 4 main abilities and then 2 additional icons which could be like a dodge or a special move. And I was like, I cannot see that for the life of me. So I took an image and whacked it in Photoshop. And actually, I think it might be right. So my inclination here is I think this is obviously the health bar, right? This is the stamina bar. This is the compass that we're talking about. I think this is probably text, like quest text, but you know, according to that, maybe it's some kind of warning about difficulty. And then for the UI, we have our own health. Then there appears to be a secondary bar here, which I'm not sure what it is. Then there is the third bar, which is a stamina bar, which we see get depleted when the character dodges. As for the abilities, I'm not 100% sure what they're referring to. This bar here, right, this actually gets like, there's like a circle and the white bar kind of like fills or empties. I'm not sure which way around it goes. And I think that's an indication that that ability is probably on cooldown. Then there's this ability here. This one, well, actually I've done a really bad job of aiming there. But then, you know, like 2, 3. Now, the question is to me, what is this? I don't really know what that is. ChatGPT doesn't think it's an ability. And it does look like, if you look at the distance between the two, obviously that is a little bit different from the other 4. So maybe ChatGPT is right there. But it said 6, and I don't know what the 6 is. If the 6 that it's talking about is here, well, it's a bit unclear on this footage right here. But I think this is more likely to be like the D-pad, where you would maybe like do potions and stuff like that. And actually, it's not very clear here, but I kind of feel like when you actually see the gameplay, if we zoom in a little bit, which we can, but it looks a little bit more obvious to me that it's kind of like a D-pad. The bottom one looks like a health icon. So maybe like a health potion. The couple of other things that I don't really know what it is, like I don't know what this icon would be, for example. As I said, I'm not really sure why there's a crescent moon. I mean, I guess it just suggests it's nighttime. Maybe there's going to be an icon that says it's nighttime and daytime. Overall, though, I think this UI is very, very clean. Obviously, it's the control UI rather than the PC one, because my man is playing on a controller. But you can see, you know, the makings of the gameplay. I'm not 100% sure what class he's playing. Obviously, some kind of melee class, because he keeps getting in and out. That looks like a big giant sword, though, so maybe this is swordsman, or maybe the weapons aren't actually tied to the classes. That's another point we're not actually sure about. There's some kind of thing here on the left. I actually just saw that then. I hadn't seen that before, actually. When he's over here, there's another set of icons, which again look kind of similar to these. So maybe that's the potion thing and this is something else. Honestly, we have no idea. Either way, it's nice just to see somebody actually play the game. A lot of people are like, there's no hype about this game. Is it even real? Nobody's actually talked about it. Well, now you know some people who've actually played it. Now, that doesn't mean the game's going to be great. That doesn't mean you should be like, oh, I'm so excited about this game. I would always suggest tentative caution, right? That's something I would always recommend. But I'm hoping it gives a little bit of credence to the game actually being a real game. That doesn't mean it's going to be God's gift to gaming. It doesn't mean it's going to be the greatest MMO of all time. Only time will tell on that one. But, you know, Cannon's played it, Society of Gaming's played it, I played it. All in all, you can kind of think that this is real. You also see him getting netted, by the way, something we didn't even speak about. So there's obviously like CCs and that kind of stuff, because this big giant spider puts him in a big giant spider web. So we see that as well. But yeah, it's some interesting kind of gameplay things that, you know, as far as I know, we literally just didn't know. There is a compass. The boss seems to have some kind of secondary bar. There's definitely what it appears to be dodging and stamina in there as well. I'm not 100% confident about the 4 abilities. ChatGPT said 4, but I mean, quite frankly, that could be 5 or 6, or maybe the ones over to the left-hand side are abilities. If you've ever seen Chrono Liberty's kind of console UI, the whole UI changes and there's multiple different buttons and stuff like that. So I wouldn't read too much into that. But yeah, honestly, it exists and there's a little bit of gameplay information right there. I won't waste any more of your time. Let me know your thoughts. Have a most beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.